Here with Pat Jenkins Sports Talk Radio. Little technical issues with the Mike Anderson audio. We'll try to fix that throughout the show and possibly get that to you at the end of the show. Previewing this Saturday's 5 o'clock tip-off versus the LSU Tigers in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. But we got a real good show planned for you. We'll talk a little high school basketball today as we'll catch up with Fayetteville assistant basketball coach Brad Stamps. We're going to come on and talk about just the Purple Dogs. They're the tops in the 6A West. Starting the second half of the season, as they're going to be traveling to Bentonville West to take on the, those guys up there up north. My dogs are the best in the West. But we'll talk to Coach Stamps about that. And then at 1:30, we'll talk to our good buddy about more Fastest 40. Arkansas travels, like I said, to LSU this Saturday, tip-off, 5 o'clock on the SEC Network. We'll talk to Scotty Borderland of the Arkansas Democrat Gazette and get his keys to this Saturday's road test for this young, still yet people don't want to hear it, but young basketball team. And then we're going to have a little call-in segment. How do you think things will turn out recruiting-wise as Arkansas finishes out on the road evaluation period? The coaches will be coming in tonight. And Demetrius sitting by bated breath as the final days wind. Arkansas will be waiting patiently, nervously as well, to see what those guys are going to be, what school they're going to choose. I think Amante and I think Adonis, I think they stay with Arkansas. But we got Coach A audio, and here's what Coach A has to say about that big road test that they'll be at down in Baton Rouge.
All right. Well, we get a chance to go against a LSU team that's playing awful well right now. I think they're undefeated in the conference play. Had a big win at 8 a.m. last night. And of course, led by Tremont Waters. But he's an excellent player. He controlled tempo here, I thought. So it's a team we're familiar with. So hopefully our guys got a sense of urgency you got to play with, especially this time of the year, and then going on the road. But Nash, I think the Reed kid, he probably had a career high game on us. They had some guys that you know about Tremont, you know about Reed, talented player, but they had some other guys that had some big games on us too. So it was an overtime game. So hopefully that game's over with, but it registered in our guys' mind in terms of what we did. We got down 13 and with a chance to take the lead, and got the game in overtime, and just kind of ran out of time. So, but back into the SEC, going and playing Baton Rouge should be a great environment.
Mike, how's Isaiah Joe doing? Is he getting better?
Well, we had a day off yesterday, so hopefully he got a chance to recuperate a little bit better, so he can get some food in him. Hopefully over the virus. Hopefully that's what it is. So I'll find out here when we go to practice.
If he's back to more of himself on Saturday, how big would that be for you?
That'd be big. I think we got Mason going, and I think having another guy one of your leading three-point shooters in the conference play can open up the floor so we can utilize Dan, because people are doubling and tripling him. He had an outstanding game against them here, so hopefully we'll be able to send a lot of things through Dan and open up the floor, because on the road you got to make shots. You got to defend, you got to make shots. You got to get to the free throw line as much as the opponents, and you got to take care of the basketball. So those are the keys that we feel like we're a much better team than when we played them the last time. So hopefully we're playing better, and it's going to take a great effort from our team. Our bench is going to have to play well. Guys that start off, they're going to have to play well.
Welcome back. It's on the Hill with Pat Jenkins Sports Talk Radio. It's our A edition as we get you guys ready for all Arkansas athletics to be tipped off. Men traveling to LSU to take on the LSU Tigers, and on Sunday, the women will be taking on the South Carolina Gamecocks, as the women were unfortunately unable to come out with a victory in last night's ball game versus the Georgia Bulldogs. They were defeated 80-72, but we're going to step away real quick. We're going to let you hear post Mike Neighbors, hear what Coach Neighbors had to say about last night's victory, and then when we come back, we'll be joined by assistant Fayetteville High Bulldogs boys basketball coach Brad Stamps. Time to talk a little high school basketball in the state of Arkansas. Here's Coach Neighbors. It's on the Hill with Pat Jenkins on KDSJ 479.
Yeah. Kind of a chance to step back and recap after 7 games, 5-2 with, again, I'm not going to sit up here and change who we've been all year. We live in a reality world, and we talk about it all the time. We know our 5 wins are against the teams at the bottom of the league right now. It's strange to see Tennessee in that league, but that's where they're at right now. So we know these next 7 games are against teams in the top half. So new challenge. We are confident. We're playing pretty good. You'll have to play better than pretty good to win any of these next 6 or these next 7 games.
What do you think led to that, and then how did y'all dig out of it?
3 games in 6 days. Poor planning on my part. Poor execution on our kids' part. Poor fighting through the mental fatigue. You talk yourself into be tired. They shouldn't have been, but they were.
I'm totally sorry. That was inappropriate audio. We proved it. We went back and talked about the Georgia game. We'll momentarily get that fixed for you, as well as we'll have audio, post-game audio from Coach Mike Neighbors following last night's disappointing 80-72 home loss. Arkansas falls to 5-3 in the SEC. Chelsea Dungy led all scorers. 28 points. Chelsea Dungy, Demetrius. Now, this is a big-time basketball player. This lady continues to put up pretty impressive numbers week in, week out. I think it's like the 4th conference game she's had double-digit scoring, and it just seems like she's starting to get more and more comfortable, in her role. She's the leader of the team. She's who they rely on. Unfortunately, Alexis Toll-Free, big-time scorer, had an off night. But, that's to be expected. Now, these are, like I said, young ladies, young adults. And sometimes you just don't have it. But, unfortunately, Arkansas was unable to come out with the victory as they went down 80-72. We're waiting momentarily for Coach Brad Stamps to be joining us momentarily. You know what, Demetrius? This girls program, does this hurt the young ladies at all? I know they were getting a lot of love, after that Tennessee win, came back with 2 really good impressive wins over Alabama and then traveled to Florida. Now, what does this do for their confidence level? By just losing a very close game, and it was in ways that they were real uncharacteristic. They don't turn the ball over very much, but it was just, unfortunate that was something that took place last night. What does this do to their confidence heading into Sunday's ball game versus South Carolina?
Nothing. I think they still have an opportunity to still end the season strong, and I think they understand that. It's just one game, and I think just playing on this level and having so many experienced players on that team, I think they're going to take that mindset and move it on.
Well, we'll take a real quick break, take care of some administrative things really quickly, but we'll be right back with boys assistant basketball coach, Fayetteville High School, Coach Brad Stampson. We're going to move back the Coach Neighbors post-game George audio to the end of the show as we got that worked out, but we'll be back. We'll take a quick break. It's On the Hill with Pat Jenkins on KDSJ 479.
Georgia came out with way more focus than we did. I thought we had a good end to the quarter. In the second quarter, we had good energy in the locker room. We talked about how awesome we had moved the ball in the second quarter, and everybody rallied and cheered, and then went out in the third quarter and didn't do it. So frustrating, but Georgia can frustrate you. All right, they can frustrate you. They're up in you the entire game. It's very, very physical. We didn't respond as well as we have been. I still thought we had chances in the third and fourth quarter to make a run. We turned it over a couple of times, and then we missed a few shots. But that's Georgia's compounding effect had more of effect on us than our compounding effect had on them. They ran with us just fine. They looked sharp. They looked fresher at the end of the game than we did, and that's not been the case very many times. But, I thought they knew they needed this game, and they played like it.
Usually when Alexis isn't making threes, she's still doing really positive things elsewhere, but tonight it kind of seemed different. What was up with her?
I don't know. She wasn't good when we took her out of the game and didn't respond very well, so I thought Raven did. So Raven got those minutes tonight, and, hopefully she'll bounce back. She's been playing fine. Like you said, her lineups have still been very, very efficient, even though her shots haven't been going in. But tonight there were some turnovers and some really big missed defensive assignments, and I felt like Raven has been giving us a better punch, even though she went 1 for 6. I felt like she was better, so we stuck with her.
So they're at the end of the game. Oh, sorry, Nate.
No.
Is that yours? So they're at the end of the game. When Malika had that turnover and it resulted in a transition bucket, that kind of seemed to take the air out of it. What happened on that? They were
zapped us. Yeah, I was. We tried to run something we just put in this week. That's probably my fault for trying to put in a situation where we were trying to execute. She had a few uncharacteristic ones tonight, early in the game especially. So that's an accumulation of playing a whole bunch of minutes. I'll still take her effort or fight, but you can't – the number itself, you're going to look at 13, and that's really not that big of a number. But, man, it was the kind and the time. She missed a wide-open layup, too. She's beating herself up over that would have cut it to a 2-possession game. So some of that's fatigue. I've got to start taking her out around media timeouts. We've got to do a better job in practice of getting Jalen a few minutes at the point until IT comes back.
I know rebounding's tough, but was this tougher than you expected?
Yeah, no, not really. I thought we held our own in the first half, but the second half was just a completely different Georgia team. I thought Kalia Robinson established herself in that area in the second half. When you look at Taja Cole getting 9 defensive rebounds, that's what you want your guard to be able to do because those all turned in. But, yeah, it was a little tougher. They're hard to do it against.
Welcome back. It's our On the Hill edition. It's our A edition of On the Hill with Pat Jenkins Sports Talk Radio. Still making attempts to get a hold of Fayetteville assistant basketball coach Brad Stamps, but I want to get back to topics. Demetrius, as we're closing in. Arkansas assistant coaches will be coming off the road today as evaluation. To close out and really make relationships with their potential juniors and incoming sophomores. They'll be in. How do you see this class going forward? How many is this going to be a class that you think will have the impact that so many in the national media are saying? Or what's your take on just the job that they were able to do to this point with just, in their full year of evaluation is pretty much what my question is.
Like I said earlier, I think this class is really gonna be what ultimately keeps Chad Morris here for long term. So I think they're gonna have to produce. We talked about it earlier this year, saying how much pressure this class will have, and you were saying how you just hope it's not too much pressure because there is a lot of talent here, but it's just gonna take the guys time to get adjusted and adapted to playing on a collegiate level.
As far as recruiting goes, how big do you think these prospect day weekends are, where they're able to, get incoming, soon to be juniors, soon to be seniors, soon to be sophomores? They get a chance to, kind of interact with them, away from football, right before spring ball starts, in between, the end of their regular seasons. How big is this if you're coaching staff, and in particular Coach Chad Morris and this staff here at Arkansas, when you're trying to build, a program that hadn't been, something kids have raved about here over the last 6-7 years?
I see it as more so like the basic foundation. This is the chances for the coaches to get acclimated with kind of the personalities of the type of kids that they're going to be recruiting, and vice versa for the students. Opportunity for the students to see how the coaches interact with them, and the type of personalities that they have, and to see if they really fit and mesh. So to me, this early recruiting day is tremendous, because this is what's going to determine if these kids even allow these schools into their top 10, their top 5, and so forth.
I totally agree. But what are some other takes that you see? Is it going to be? What position of need do you think will have the biggest impact in this freshman class?
It's going to be on that defensive line. Those are the players that I think are going to come in and play immediately.
Whoa, we have caught the bird. We have caught the bird. We are now joined by Fayetteville assistant boys basketball coach Brad Stamps. B. Stamps, welcome on the hill.
What's going on, fellas? You guys doing all right today?
Oh, doing real good. What I want to talk to you about is your basketball team. Brad, this is a young basketball team, but quite talented. I recall, I think you guys are playing, 1 to maybe 2 or 3 seniors. Outside of that, it's a team that it's their first, pretty much, in high school basketball. Talk about, the process and how excited you guys are going forward. Not only for this season but years to come.
Oh yeah, it's definitely exciting. You're getting guys on the floor right now that are being they're vital in what our success and what we've done so far. But you see growth from day to day, Pat. You see growth from week to week, and game to game, and it's exciting because these guys are bought in and they're going to be here, and the future looks bright for sure.
The thing that I look at, Brad, is when I look at the staff there at Fayetteville High, quite the purple dog pride feel to it. How big is that for the kids, that are coming through that program, able to see so many coaches, giving back and, kind of showing them the way, and just the pride of what it is to play, there at Fayetteville?
Well, it's special. It really is. You're a part of it as a kid, and you grow up in it. You grow up in a community that believes in it, that supports it, and you get to wear that uniform. And then, I just remember, Coach Kretschmeyer always telling us, these are the greatest days of your life, and look back on this time and realize it. So I don't think you buy in and believe that while you're playing. You get caught up in it, but I can tell you, firsthand that, you leave and you go other places, but you come back and it feels just like it did then. And I want these kids to understand that same thing, that, we're creating memories of a lifetime. When you grow up in a community that supports it, and it's going to be here to watch you on Tuesday and Friday nights, it's pretty special.
Being an alum of Fayetteville High, watching this basketball program, as you said, Brad, watching yourself, a few of my family members, Coach Kretschmeyer, he bred a program that was not only statewide known but nationally known. A thing I want to get to is not everyone, being young, Sean Sutton, George Shakowski, maybe a few others were able to step in and play, at a young age, freshman or sophomore year. You guys got 2 guys in Tamari Relaford and Isaiah Relaford that are, accomplishing in that. Talk about those 2, and, how excited have you been to watch the development of these 2 young men at the high school level?
You bet. Glad to talk about those 2, because number one, above all else, is they're unbelievable kids that love to be coached, kids that teachers come to us on a weekly basis bragging about, how they're being leaders in classroom, and they're really good kids. It starts there. The second thing is, for Tamari, who played a lot for us last year as a freshman, his growth from last year at this time to now is it's unbelievable, the growth he's had, and his ceiling is really high. He continues, the skill level's getting better, his understanding of the game is getting better, so we're really excited about him. Isaiah, a young man last year that played at Woodland, he was kind of the talk of the town, if you know what I mean.
Right.
And I looked forward to Monday and Thursday nights last year going to Woodland's gym and seeing a young man with the ball in his hands that, golly, just seems to make everybody around him better. And he's one of those kids that we've put the ball in his hands as a freshman, which is rare. And he's taking it and he's running with it, and he's leading our basketball team. And the sky's the limit, and we're just glad they're on our side.
A guy that I know you guys are really, really proud of is senior Colin Cooper. Colin is a young man that's come through a lot here over the last year or so with, family losses. But Colin stepped it up. He started off a little sluggish early there in the season. Brad was hurt during the Christmas holiday at a few tournaments, but he's come on real strong. Talk about, his leadership and how he's been able to help guys like Isaiah at the point guard spot, which is a guy that, he knows that he's going to be passing over the torch, for the duration. And talk about Colin's leadership role.
Yeah, he's carried that torch, for us for a couple years now. And he's a young man that, came in as a sophomore, and we knew what we had. And his roles changed from year to year, based on what we had. And there's no doubt when we take the floor every night that he's our guy. He's the guy on our squad that everybody has to set their defense to, and he's, make no mistake about it, this young man is the first one in the gym when I get here in the mornings. He's already had 200 or 300 shots up.
Right.
When I leave in the afternoon, he's, Coach, can I stay and get shots up? He's calling me on weekends, Coach, can I get in the gym? He's just a gym rat, and his success doesn't come by luck. It comes by hard work. And those younger guys see the work ethic that he's putting in and see that he's reached his dreams of playing college basketball. Like you said earlier, he's overcome some adversity that a lot of kids maybe not been mentally tough enough to overcome. And that's a credit to him, his family, his fan base. And we're proud of him. We're proud of the man he's become and how he's leading us.
Lastly, last question before I let you go. I know you guys are going to be traveling to Bentonville West tonight, to start the second half of the conference slate. But a young man that I think is going to be vital for you guys tonight and going forward. And I want you to talk about and elaborate on a young man you're real familiar with during your days in the Springdale School District as the head coach, Austin Garrett. Brad, he left Harbor. This is a young man that I've watched grow, and through the maturation process through you guys, how vital will Austin be, for what you guys are trying to accomplish for the duration of the season and once we get to the state tournament?
Yeah, Austin, following him, as a youth, growing up, and then, coaching against him there when he was at Harbor, you knew his athleticism, you watched the game, and that's the first thing you notice is just his unbelievable athleticism. You combine that with just a drive and a will to win, you got something. And he's starting to, for us, he's starting to figure out what we need and what we want out of him on a night-to-night basis, and that's just doing all the dirty work, being able to, get out on a fast break and run and show off his athleticism. And he's been really good the last few weeks for us in that role. He's getting a little bit of everything. He's getting 4 or 5 assists a game. He's getting 4 or 5 rebounds a game. And like what he would like to tell everybody is he's getting 4 or 5 dunks. He's a highlight reel when he gets up around the rim. So he's been good. He's been a great addition for us. He's just well. So we're glad we get 2 years out of him.
Well, Brad, hey, I appreciate it being a Fayetteville alum and being a close friend. As a lot of people may not know, this guy here on the phone, Demetrius, we went through a lot of basketball. Good times and bad times, but having you on that bench at Fayetteville High, I know there's going to be a lot of good times with you around those kids, and I really appreciate the job that you do. But good luck, PDP, bring it home, and thanks for taking time out on the hill, B.
Hey, I appreciate you, Pat. Keep rocking it, man.
All right. That was assistant men's basketball, boys basketball coach at Fayetteville High School, Coach Brad Stamps, talking a lot about the Purple Dogs, Demetrius. You can tell I'm a proud Purple Dog, can't you? It's just in the blood. We're always good in basketball, but we're going to take a real quick break. It's time to talk Fastest 40 in LSU with Scotty Borderland of the Arkansas Democrat-Gazette. He's up next. It's On the Hill with Pat Jenkins on KDSJ 479.
Thanks for joining us tonight. Things didn't quite go Arkansas's way, but can you maybe just take us through the game and what you thought of it?
We started off with a rough start. That's something that we need to improve on, but we fought back, and we went back and forth with a great team. And we came up short, but there's takeaways from it. We can get more rebounds, a little less turnovers. Those are the difference in the game. But we fought back, and I'm proud of my team for not giving up. Same thing as the first quarter. We didn't come out ready. They punched us in the mouth, and it took us a second to punch them back. And against great teams, we have to eliminate that.
What happened on that late possession where Malik ended up turning it over, but all of you were kind of looking around, kind of wondering what was happening? Did y'all not know what the play was, or what was the issue?
To be honest, I really don't remember that. But I can say with turnovers, we just have to limit those. We're really not a turnover-prone team, and we just kind of played out our game in that aspect.
As far as your night, what made it easy, or look easy anyway, the way you were scoring? What accomplished it?
Their defensive position, they would either open up one way or the other, and that's never good on defense. So I capitalized on that, and I just kept attacking until they stopped me.
And I guess, Malika, two of you feel you kind of complemented each other tonight as far as offensively?
Yeah, we always do. Mal's always a great. She's a good part of our team. She's the floor general on our team, and it's always good when we can play together and it goes well.
Free throws, just everything looked like the two of you, just everything clicked.
Yeah, we shoot a lot of free throws in practice, so. Yeah.
Welcome back. It's the A edition of On the Hill with Pat Jenkins Sports Talk Radio here on KDSJ 479. And real quick before we get to our next special guest, I want to give a shout out to our sponsors, Lindsay & Associates, with an office location in Fayetteville, an office location also too in Rogers. The Baymont Hotel, it's located at 735 South Shiloh Drive in Fayetteville, and Locomotion, it's located just below the Northwest Arkansas Mall. And right before we come in, we let you hear audio from sophomore guard Chelsea Dungy. Arkansas, unfortunately, was beaten last night at Bud Walton Arena 80-72 by the Georgia Lady Bulldogs. But now it's time to talk a little Fastest 40. And you know who we always catch up when that topic comes to mind. Scotty Borderland of the Arkansas Democrat-Gazette. Scotty, welcome back to OTH, my brother.
Hey, thanks for having me again. How are you guys?
Doing real good. As long as I can stay warm, I'm doing great. But on to basketball. On to basketball, Coach Anderson and the Razorbacks will be traveling to Baton Rouge, coming off, a must-win is what I consider this Tuesday night versus Georgia. We had availability with Coach A yesterday, Scotty. What were some of the takes that you, when you walked out of that facility, you had on your mind pertaining Arkansas versus LSU tomorrow at 5 o'clock?
Yeah, I think he realizes that they've been in a lot of the games that or won games the last week and a half, or been in the other game, at Texas Tech, because they played pretty well defensively. And I think he's looking for his defense to travel again. And I think he understands that this is going to be the best offensive team that they faced in that span. With Tremont Waters and all the weapons that LSU's got, he knows that's going to be the key to getting a win, and probably their first resume win in a while. So, that was kind of the big thing I took away from it. And I think maybe if you get Isaiah Joe back healthy, that would be a big plus too.
When you look at Tremont Waters, in the last game, overtime loss Arkansas had here in Bud Walton versus LSU, Tremont had 7 turnovers, but, he kind of controlled that ball game. This is a guy, I believe, averaging 15 points, roughly about 3-4 assists a game, 7 assists or so a game. What must Arkansas do to neutralize him? I thought, Scotty, in game 1, their best opportunity to give themselves a chance to win was when Reggie Chaney was able to guard him. Is that something, if you're Coach Anderson, you look at early on? Or what would be your take just to kind of neutralize that young man?
Yeah, I honestly don't know what you do. I think he's averaging a double-double in the 3 games that he's played in his career against Arkansas. So, they probably tried to neutralize him in the past, and it just hasn't worked out. I think maybe try the matchup zone and just maybe kind of shrink the court with the ball in his hand. I think that might be the way that Arkansas goes on Saturday. You got to stop dribble penetration with him, but you also got to worry about him burning you from the perimeter too. He scored 36 against Texas A&M the other night. So several different ways to compete you. I think maybe you got to try to shrink the floor defensively and just hope that works out.
Nas Reed, Daniel Gafford matchup seems to be yet another test for Daniel. Each and every week it just gets tougher. How big is this matchup, and how important is it for DG to start off really strong and establish himself? Not only defensively, but possibly pick up some fouls on some of the bigs there at LSU early in that in the first half.
Yeah, I think it's important. I know he wants to play a little bit better than he did. They actually had probably the best game in the SEC play when they played a couple of weeks ago. But I think Nass was just about every bit as good as he was. So I think that's kind of in the back of his mind too. If he could, if he's aggressive, and I think he could get a couple of LSU's forwards in foul trouble too. That would be a plus. I expect them to feed him quite a bit tomorrow, and see if they can actually play inside out for once. We've heard a lot about that the last couple of weeks.
Might continue to
hasn't seemed to work out that way. Yeah.
Might continue to talk about the bench, and as you're starting to notice, guys like Reggie Chaney, Gabe, if he could understand his role, really is going to be best suited defensively, and not so much on the offense. I think offense is something that he continues to have to work on. But when you look at that bench, Keyshawn was he's been kind of off offensively, but for the most part, all those guys are playing really, really high level defense. How important is it for them to continue the defensive side, but maybe try to get something out of Keyshawn or Desi Seals in tomorrow's ball game?
Yeah, that's exactly what you just said. That's exactly what I wrote about yesterday, and I think what you're seeing right now is Arkansas forwards that are coming off the bench are giving them positive things just on both ends, and even Gabe has at times. Like, he had a 3. I think he's 2 for his last 3 from deep, which is kind of crazy. Reggie's playing pretty well off the bench. We know he's more comfortable there. I just think if you can get some production from the guards, like if they can knock down some threes or some perimeter shots, that would alleviate some of the load that Mason and Isaiah have to carry. And I think that's when you get bench production from the bigs and the guards, and then you kind of get what you're constantly getting from a few of the starters and your core guys. I think that's when you can really start to round in shape.
If Jalen Harris is to really become an offensive threat tomorrow, and I'm going to pick Jalen to be my X factor in tomorrow's outcome. If that's the case, Scotty, What are the chances Arkansas gets out of Baton Rouge with a W, in your opinion? And that'll be the last question.
Yeah, it's funny. I'm not sure I want to take a whole bunch of perimeter shots, but if he takes them and makes them, then good on him. I think the biggest thing is he's got to take care of the ball. Arkansas is so much better when he values it, and he's finding guys and they're knocking shots down. So anything he gives you from the perimeters is a plus. I'm kind of focused on Isaiah. I want to see if he's healthy. He can kind of get back to how he was shooting the ball against Missouri. That would be big on the road.
Well, Scotty, as always, my man, keep bringing us the fastest 40 updates in the realest form. We enjoy having you cover fastest 40 on OTH. But as always, have a blessed weekend, and we'll catch up, I believe, on Monday or Tuesday as Arkansas will be hosting the Vanderbilt Commodores. But as always, my man, thanks for taking time out on the hill, and have a blessed one.
Yeah, you too. Thanks again, Pat. Appreciate it.
That was Scotty Borderland of the Arkansas Democrat-Gazette giving us his fastest 40 takes as Arkansas will be traveling to Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Tip-off at 5 p.m., and that will be viewed for all you listeners. I want to know it'll be on the SEC Network. But we hadn't done it all year, so we thought we'd bring it back. You know what that is? P&D's SEC basketball picks of the week. And then before we get out of here, we're going to pick the Super Bowl, who we got to win the Super Bowl. So here we go. You about ready, D? Let's get it in. First pick, South Carolina travels to Georgia to take on the Georgia Bulldogs. Who you got, D?
I'm going to go Georgia.
Ooh, you going to take Georgia for the upset? I'm going South Carolina. Next up, Mississippi State travels to Ole Miss. This ought to make for a big ball game.
I'm going with the SIP, baby, Mississippi State.
Well, Mississippi State, I'm going to take the Bulldogs in that one as well. Next up, Kentucky travels to Florida to take on the Gators.
Good old Kentucky.
Upset alert. I'm going Gators. I think Kayvon Allen, representing the ARK, I think he's going to be the giant slayer. I think Florida gets that one. Next up, Alabama travels to Auburn to take on the Tigers.
Auburn.
I'll take Bama in this one. I think Auburn's just really reeling right now. Bruce Pearl's got to do something to get them back on the ship. They have too much talent to be playing the way and to be in the situation that they're in. I thought they'd be higher up in the standings, but got a lot of basketball to be played, but I'm going to take Alabama in that one. Tennessee travels to Texas A&M to take on the Aggies. Demetrius?
Tennessee.
You ain't lying. It ain't about by if, it's just by how much in tomorrow's game. Tennessee, Rick Barnes, that ball club is destined for, I believe, a Final Four and possibly a national championship run. Lastly, we got Vanderbilt travels to Missouri. Who you got? That's the bottom dweller game. I'll go before you on this one. I'm going to take Missouri to beat Vanderbilt. Just because it's home, I'm going to take the Tigers.
We'll take Vanderbilt then.
And lastly, LSU hosts the Arkansas Razorbacks. What you got?
LSU.
I'm going to go Arkansas. I think they do a road win to kind of get them over the hump. And I don't know what it is, but there's been a stat that I read from February 1st on. Arkansas, during the time that Coach Anderson's been in Fayetteville, has won 64, almost 65% of their games. And this seems to be always that time of the year where they seem to get things going. But I'm going to go with Arkansas. And I believe that's going to wrap up our show for today and wrap up our week pretty much, Demetrius. Real quick before we get out of here, I want to give a thank you to our guest, Coach Brad Stamps of Fayetteville High School, the Fayetteville High School assistant basketball coach for the Bulldogs. I want to give a thank you for him to come on and talk Purple Dogs with us. And Scotty Borderland of the Arkansas Democrat-Gazette. Continuous coverage and information when we talk fastest 40. Scotty's always the guy that we love to bring here on OTH. And lastly, our sponsors, Lindsay & Associates, with an office location in Fayetteville and office location also too in Rogers. The Baymont Hotel, located at 735 South Shiloh Drive. And lastly, Locomotion, located just below the Northwest Arkansas Mall. I want to give a thank you to my producer and co-host, Demetrius Johnson. And to all you listeners, you have a blessed weekend. Be safe and take care of yourself. It's On the Hill with Pat Jenkins on KDSJ. 479.